Hey everyone. Tonight we step into a room where grief hangs in the air like perfume, thick, quiet, and full of things no one wants to say out loud. I'm standing beside a casket, breath shallow, hands cold, watching people whisper as if their words might shatter the air. And right here, right now, before we go any further, you might not survive this one. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I'm doing here. And while you're settling in, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'll be reading everything later with a warm cup of tea. Now, turn off the lights, maybe let a fan run for some gentle white noise, and let's begin tonight's journey together. The funeral home in Coral Springs held this strange, polite kind of quiet. Not real silence, more like the kind people put on when they want to look respectful, the kind that feels borrowed, the kind that fools nobody. A soft strip of Florida sunlight filtered through the glass wall, turning the white ribbons on the floral wreaths golden. It should have been comforting. It wasn't. I sat in the front row, pretending to be steady, clutching the last handkerchief Michael gave me decades ago, embroidered with tiny blue flowers, the thread worn thin from years of goodbyes that came too early. I'd been Brenda Cole for 67 years, wife for 42, mother for 35, widow for only a few days. If old age wisdom has taught me anything, it's this. When a woman loses her husband, people come to comfort her. When she loses her worth in her own family, they look right through her. I didn't know yet which one I was losing today. Maybe both. Andrew stood near the entryway, tall and polished in a black suit that fit him like a magazine ad. My son, the tech genius, the Miami Wonder Boy, the one reporters love to praise for being self-made, as though a mother's sacrifices were some optional accessory in his origin story. He looked older today, though softer around the eyes. Or maybe that was grief. Hard to tell these days. My eyes only seemed to notice what hurt. He glanced at me and came over, taking my hand in both of his. "Mom," he whispered, "I just want to make sure you're comfortable in the mansion I bought for you." My heart stuttered. "The what?" My hand froze in his. I felt my breath catch the way it does when the doctor gives you news you already know but still pray isn't real. "What mansion?" I asked. "Behind him." Serena appeared, the woman who could make a black funeral dress look like it belonged on a billboard. She smelled like some expensive French perfume that tried to hide its sharpness under flowers. She tilted her chin, red lips curving just enough to look gracious. But those eyes, cold and polished, had the eager gaze of someone watching a house of cards about to fall on someone else's head. I knew that look. Women my age can spot fake sweetness the way birds sense storms instantly, instinctively. Andrew frowned, confused by my question. "Mom, the Coral Gables property, the one with the big backyard you loved." A slow heat crept up my spine. Coral Gables. I'd never even seen the place. "I've been in 4B for years," I said quietly. "Nothing's changed." The room shifted, whispers grew legs and started crawling around us. Even the funeral director paused mid-step. Serena's smile froze like a glitch in a computer program. "She's been forgetful lately," she said softly, but loud enough for everyone around us to hear. "We've been worried." Oh, that line, the famous line. I could almost hear the trap closing. A quirky fact I once read popped into my mind at the worst possible time. People remember lies told with confidence more vividly than truths whispered with fear. Well, wasn't that just convenient for Serena? I steadied my voice. "I'm not confused." "Mom, maybe you're tired," Andrew said gently. He sounded so earnest it made something behind my ribs ache. "You told us you loved the house." "No," I said, shaking my head. "I never moved. I never received keys. And I certainly didn't ask anyone to sign papers for me." Serena stiffened. There it was, the first crack in her porcelain mask. She didn't speak, but her eyes flicked down and to the side, the way guilty people sometimes look at imaginary escape routes. Academically debatable phrase of the night. Some people lie to protect themselves. Others lie because they're allergic to the truth. "I'll let you decide which category she was in." Andrew's confusion deepened. He pulled out his phone, scrolling fast. "Mom, I have pictures. You in the kitchen, in the backyard. You sent them to me." Pictures. He held the screen toward me, and for a moment, the room shrank to a pinprick. It was a woman who looked like me, same age, same hair color, same build, smiling in a sunny kitchen I had never seen in my life, posing in a garden I had never stepped in, standing under a balcony I had never walked beneath. A stranger wearing my face. My blood turned to ice. I lifted my wrist. "See this scar?" I asked. "The one from slicing apples." He nodded. "She doesn't have it." I pointed to my cheek, my freckle missing. Andrew zoomed in, his breath hitched. He looked at Serena, and for the first time in 2 years, truly saw her. She faltered for a flash of a second. Panic crossed her face before she smoothed it into that hollow elegance she wore like armor. "Andrew," she murmured, "this really isn't the time." "No," he said softly, like a man waking up from a long, long sleep. "This is exactly the time." And just like that, in a funeral home filled with flowers and lies, something shattered. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly enough that only the people paying attention could hear it. The truth had started its slow, deliberate walk toward the light. Andrew sank into the wooden chair in that little family room the funeral home staff had opened for us. His shoulders slumped in a way I hadn't seen since he was a boy, right after he broke his arm falling from the backyard mango tree and tried to hide the pain by biting his lip. There's an old saying my mother used to whisper when life turns sideways. There are moments when a child looks older than his parent, and that's when you know the truth is standing in the doorway. That was exactly how he looked now. The fluorescent light above us flickered, humming a thin electrical sound that made the room feel even smaller. The scent of lilies from the hall drifted in sweet, heavy, overwhelming. Grief mixed strangely with suspicion, like two perfums clashing in the same air. Andrew kept scrolling through the photos, jaw tightening with each swipe. "Mom," she said, "you asked for privacy, that you were overwhelmed after Dad got sick." I gently placed a hand on the table. "Privacy isn't the same as disappearing, Samuel." But Serena stood by the door, arms crossed, one heel tapping lightly a rhythm that sounded less like nervousness and more like calculation. She kept glancing outside the door, as if making sure no one else wandered in to witness her unraveling. "You see," she said, forcing a soft, pitying tone, "she's mixing memories again. This is exactly what I've been trying to tell you." I turned my head slowly. I'm 67. Serena, not foggy, not confused, simply tired of being spoken about like I'm fading away. She blinked hard, then her eyelashes fluttered like she was trying to summon tears that refused to cooperate. The irony wasn't lost on me. Tears usually come easiest to those drowning in remorse, not those drowning in fabrication. Andrew rubbed his temples. "Mom, you really don't remember any of this house, the yard, the photos." "I've never stepped foot in that house," I said. "Not once." He stared at the phone again, zooming in on the stranger who wasn't me, but she looks like my shadow, I murmured, a shadow wearing borrowed clothes. A quirky fact floated to mind, the kind you hear on documentaries playing late at night when sleep slips away. On average, humans trust photos more than words, even when both are wrong. Well, trustworthy or not, that woman in the photos wasn't me. A long silence stretched, the kind that lets truth slide into the room whether you invite it or not. "I don't like where this is heading," Andrew whispered. "Neither do I said. Serena stepped forward, voice cracking in a rehearsed way. "Honey, maybe this isn't the right moment. Your father just—" "This is exactly why," he snapped softly. Not loudly, not angrily, just with a sudden clarity that made the air tremble. "She's grieving," Serena whispered. "She's confused." "I'm grieving," I replied, but my memory is sharp enough to know where I slept last night, and it wasn't in a mansion. Andrew looked between us, his wife, his mother, his world suddenly splitting like the seam of an old leather wallet. "Serena, Did you ever actually take Mom to see the house?" She hesitated, and in that breath, the truth flickered across her face. "No," she said finally. You were too busy. She said she didn't want to move. She said she liked her old place." I let out a breath, slow, measured, tired. "Those are your words, not mine." Andrew shifted back in the chair, stunned. "Serena, Mom never said that. Mom never even mentioned seeing the place." She lifted her chin. Maybe she forgot. That word again. Forgot. It's interesting psychologists say the most dangerous manipulations are the ones disguised as concern. That's an academically debatable phrase, but I've lived enough life to know it carries weight. The moment someone uses love to erase your reality, they stop loving you, they start managing you. "Son," I said quietly, "when I forget something, it's where I put my keys, not where I live." Andrew let out a hoarse laugh, broken, disbelieving. "I can't believe this." "You shouldn't," I whispered, "but you should pay attention." He stared down at the phone again, scrolling, comparing details, zooming again. "Mom, this woman, she even wears your sweaters." "My sweaters," I echoed, which were still folded in my closet this morning. Another crack in Serena's mask. She whispered, "This is getting blown out of proportion. Let's not embarrass ourselves in front of family." "You embarrassed us the moment you lied," I said softly. Serena's eyes flashed a tiny spark of anger slipping through the cracks. "Andrew, don't let her twist the story." Andrew looked at her like he was seeing his wife for the first time, not as the polished woman he'd married, but as someone standing on a mountain of lies she was desperate to keep from crumbling. Then he said the sentence that shifted something in the room. "If Mom didn't live there, then who did?" Serena's breath hitched. And in that moment, the entire funeral home, the flowers, the whispered condolences, the weight of Michael's passing, everything faded into the background. Because now, we weren't grieving death. We were waking up to betrayal. A betrayal that had been dressed up for years in pretty clothes, polite smiles, and carefully curated lies. Andrew leaned back, staring at the ceiling for a long, pained moment. "Mom, we're going to get to the bottom of this." I nodded. "I know." And the strange thing, for the first time that day, I felt more awake than broken. Because truth, even when it slices deep, is better than being lulled to sleep by lies. On the drive home from the funeral, the world outside the car windows blurred into streaks of muted Florida colors, sun-washed pavement, palm trees bending in the breeze, the gold-pink sky folding itself into dusk. Normally, Andrew drove with the radio humming low, something smooth and familiar. Tonight, silence wedged itself between us like a third passenger. He kept glancing at his phone on the center console, the screen still showing that photo, the not-me woman standing in the Coral Gables kitchen, smiling like she lived a perfect life in a home that was supposed to have been mine. Old age wisdom says sometimes the knife isn't sharp because it cuts deep. It's sharp because it was slid in quietly. That was how Serena hurt me. Not with shouts, with silence, subtleties, carefully crafted illusions. When we reached my condo building, Andrew parked but didn't get out. His fingers tapped the steering wheel, restless, anxious, like he was afraid to say what he was thinking. "Mom," he whispered, "I need to check something." He handed me the phone. I looked down at the screen again, at her, at the imposter. She had my haircut, my posture, my skin tone, but not my eyes. Her eyes looked straight into the camera, confident, alive, like she belonged there. I couldn't help noticing a tiny mole near her jawline that I didn't have. Small, faint, but unmistakable. A detail Serena must have hoped no one would ever look closely enough to spot. "Andrew," I said softly, "zoom in on the countertop." He did. A beige purse rested there, elegant, expensive, with gold tone initials stamped on the flap. S.M. Serena Martinez. I let out a tired breath. There she is, hiding her truth in plain sight. Andrew swallowed. Hard. This can't be happening. "It is," I said gently. He tapped through more photos, fingers shaking now. Her in the backyard, her sitting by the fireplace, her arranging flowers in a vase, Her lounging on the patio in one of my favorite sweaters, one I hadn't worn in years because she'd accidentally taken it during a laundry mix-up. Serena hadn't moved me into that mansion. She'd moved herself. A quirky fact popped into my head at the worst possible time, a strange comfort in chaos. In a group photo, most people look at themselves first. In a group life, some people only look at themselves. Serena fit that perfectly. Andrew dropped his head against the steering wheel. I don't understand the motive. But I did. She wanted the status, the image of being the kind daughter-in-law, the praise for taking care of her husband's aging mother, the lifestyle, the shiny lie that she was honoring Michael's legacy with her generosity. Except generosity built on a lie isn't generosity at all. It's theater. "Son," I murmured, "you've always been the prize she wanted. The mansion was just the trophy room." He winced. I reached over, placing my wrinkled hand over his. "This isn't your fault." He nodded, but I could feel the guilt radiating through his skin like heat. He opened the voice memos on his phone and began searching through old recordings, something he rarely did. I didn't know what he was looking for until he pressed play on a message from Serena, recorded months ago. Her voice filled the car, sweet, lilting. "Soft Andrew. Your mother is settling in beautifully. She said thank you for everything you've done for her." My jaw tightened. I never said that. Tap. Next recording. "She loves the kitchen. Says it feels like a fresh start." Tap. Next. "I think she's finally letting go of the old place. It was time." Tap. Next. "She's spending more time resting. Says she needs quiet. Don't worry, she has everything she needs." I looked out the windshield, the city lights shimmering like they were laughing at me. She stole my voice. I whispered, piece by piece. Then, Andrew paused on a video message, one he hadn't watched in months. "Serena. In the Coral Gables kitchen, holding a spoon in her hand, stirring a pot. You should see your mom," she said. "She's cooking again. It's so sweet, she hums while she makes soup." I felt the blood drain from my face. Andrew went pale. "Mom, she wore your sweater. She pretended to be you. She sent these videos to me pretending you were just in the next room." There it was, the truth, laid bare, not metaphorical, not subtle, not implied. Literal impersonation. An academically debatable thought drifted across my mind. Some crimes are not illegal, but immoral. Some are both. Some fall into a chilling space where they are neither, but still shatter lives. What Serena did somehow felt like all of them at once. Andrew's eyes glistened. "How do I fix this?" "You don't," I said quietly. "We expose it." He nodded, firm, steady. The way he used to look before pitching a baseball in Little League championship games. Then I said something I never thought I'd say, "Take me to the mansion." He looked at me in shock. "Tonight?" "Yes," I said. "If she built a life in my name, then I'm going to see what she built." He sucked in a shaky breath and started the car. As we pulled out of the parking lot, a strange calm settled over me. Because sometimes the only way to reclaim your story is to walk right into the place it was stolen. The Coral Gables mansion sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, glowing under soft landscape lights like some magazine-perfect home, meant for a life I was never allowed to touch. As we pulled into the driveway, the air felt thick, humid, heavy, almost watchful. Florida nights can be that way, warm, but with a chill hiding underneath the stillness. Andrew parked slowly, his hands stiff on the wheel. "I can't believe she lived here, pretending it was you." I placed my hand on his arm. "Let's find the truth, son. Everything else we'll deal with after." We stepped out, the scent of damp hibiscus wrapping around us. The front door opened easily, too easily. Serena had never installed the security system she insisted she taught me how to use. Inside, the house felt like a museum of stolen moments, soft lighting, carefully arranged decor, photos on shelves that didn't just feel unfamiliar. They felt staged, a life curated for an audience that was never invited. And there, on the entryway table, sat the first sign, a small wooden box with my name, Brenda, engraved into the lid. My breath caught. "Andrew, that's my handwriting." I opened it slowly. Inside were envelopes, dozens of them, all addressed to me, unopened. My chest tightened. The world seemed to tilt slightly, as if my heart had missed a step. Andrew pulled one out. These are from me. He recognized the dates immediately: birthday cards, holiday notes, little messages he used to send while traveling for work. Some were still sealed with his embossed return address. None had been opened. Not a single one. I touched the top envelope, the paper soft and worn at the corners. She hid these, I whispered. He swallowed hard. Why? Why would she hide letters? I wrote my own mother. Old age wisdom says when someone fears your connection to another person, it's because they know they can't survive in the light of it. Serena knew exactly what she was doing. Andrew's voice shook. Mom, look at the dates. This is years' worth. A tremor ran through my hands as I opened the next drawer in the table. Emails, printed out, stacked neatly. Every single one from Andrew asking Serena to check on me, respond to me, bring me to dinner, invite me to holidays, all with handwritten notes from Serena in red pen. Handled, no response needed, she's not well enough. Told him she said no. I felt something sharp twist in my stomach. Academically debatable phrase. Some believe isolation is a form of emotional abuse. Others call it control. Either way, it destroys connection. There was no debating what this was. Mom, Andrew whispered, she told me you didn't want visitors. I never said that. She said you asked for space. I never asked for anything except my son. He sank onto the sofa, covering his face with both hands. She blocked all your emails, didn't she? Check your phone, I said softly. Your contact list. He opened it. My name, Mom, was marked with a tiny, silenced icon. He stared in disbelief. She set your number to Do Not Disturb, permanently. I took a slow breath. She didn't isolate me because I was forgetful. She isolated me so I would be forgettable. He flinched like the truth itself stabbed him. We kept searching. A wicker basket near the fireplace held more envelopes, ones I had mailed him. Birthday cards, Christmas letters. I recognized my own loops and curves in the handwriting. None had ever been opened. They told me you didn't send anything, Andrew whispered. They told me you were too busy to read anything. The words sat between us like broken glass. I stood slowly and walked to the kitchen, my kitchen, but not. A place where someone wearing my clothes pretended to live a life I was cut out of. On the refrigerator, held by a glittery magnet shaped like a pineapple, was a printed fake email thread, my name at the top, my supposed replies underneath, all typed. All fake, all written by Serena. Andrew's hands trembled as he read them. She wrote these pretending to be you. Yes, she even copied your phrases. He paused. Except you never use emojis. I shook my head. Never. He exhaled sharply. She didn't just lie. She impersonated you. I leaned against the counter, legs suddenly weak. She erased me to replace me. Andrew's eyes grew glassy. Mom, she cut me off from you, and she cut me off from you. Silence swelled between us, thick, raw, filled with the grief of all the years we lost to someone else's narrative. Then a faint buzzing sound interrupted the quiet. A phone. Serena's phone. It sat on the kitchen island, screen, lighting up with message previews. Incoming message from Mark Neighbor. You still telling people the mansion's yours, LOL? Drama's gonna explode soon. Andrew and I exchanged a long, heavy glance. She didn't just lie to us, he said. She lied to everyone. I picked up the phone, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. Son, this is deeper than we thought. He nodded. We need more evidence. And as if the universe wanted to answer that sentence directly, another message popped up from Aunt Mel. Did Brenda really die last year? The story you told us doesn't match what Andrew said today. My breath froze. What? Andrew whispered. Serena had told people I was dead. Dead. And the mansion, she hadn't just moved in. She had claimed it as hers by erasing me from existence. Andrew's voice broke like a thin piece of glass. Mom, what was she planning? I placed a trembling hand on his cheek. Something built on lies always collapses. Son, tonight, we just heard the first crack. We stood together in the middle of that stolen kitchen, surrounded by the debris of a story written without us. But for the first time, we weren't confused. We were awake and ready, because the truth wasn't just coming, the truth was knocking. We moved deeper into the mansion with the kind of silence two people keep when they know they're walking through the wreckage of something sacred. Every step felt heavier, as if the house itself carried the weight of lies layered into its walls. The foyer opened into a hallway lined with framed photos, Serena in various elegant poses. Serena smiling with neighbors, Serena holding a glass of wine on the balcony. For a woman who claimed to be documenting my new life, there wasn't a single picture of me. Andrew noticed it too. "Where are your photos?" "Mom." I ran my fingers over a frame. Cool glass. No warmth beneath it. "Nowhere," I murmured. Old age wisdom says, you can tell who truly belongs in a home by the pictures on the walls. By that logic, this house never belonged to me at all. We reached the office, Serena's office. Clearly, sleek white desk, gold accents, faux velvet chair. A smell of citrus cleaner lingered in the air, sharp and almost sugary. Andrew pulled out the office drawers one by one, methodical, quiet, driven by a kind of disbelief that had turned into determination. The second drawer caught, stuck slightly, as if something wedged inside didn't want to be found. He tugged harder. It opened. Inside was a small mint-colored notebook titled in calligraphy, "Management Log, Private." I felt a chill run down my arms. Management? Of what? Andrew opened the notebook. We both froze. Inside, each page was neatly divided into sections labeled Agenda, Narrative to Andrew, Narrative to Brenda, Adjustments, Budget Allocations and Diversions. She had documented it all. Every manufactured scenario, every lie she fed him, every script she fed me, a whole story told in two voices, neither belonging to the people she claimed to protect. Andrew's eyes widened. "Mom, look at this." He turned the notebook toward me. Agenda, Month 6. Continue narrative that Brenda prefers minimal visits. Discourage Andrew from picking her up for holidays. Say she's overwhelmed. Maintain control over mail and communication. Reinforce image of caring daughter-in-law. Beneath it, budget diversion $3 to $200 transferred from joint account to personal savings. Justification groceries for Brenda not needed. My breath stilled. Next page, Month 8. Adjustments, Brenda refusing suggestions, frame her resistance as forgetfulness. If Andrew questions, emphasize concern for her mental decline. Next page, budget diversion $4 $600 withdrawal for house staging before the move. $1 $800 furniture reimbursement fiction. Andrew flipped faster, pages rustling like dry leaves. Month 14. Narrative to Andrew. Your mom asked for privacy. Your mom said moving into the mansion gave her anxiety. Your mom doesn't want visitors right now. I shook my head slowly. I never said any of that. Andrew's voice cracked. She controlled everything I believed. The sound of his pain broke something inside me. Then he stopped on a page with a thick red circle around the entry. Month 19. Goal: full control of inheritance. Ensure Brenda appears uninterested in property transfer. Prepare documentation for voluntarily gifted home. Need her signature. Plan approaches. He whispered, this wasn't miscommunication. This was a plot. A quirky fact bubbled to mind, painfully ironic. Octopuses keep detailed strategies when hunting, planning escape routes and distraction methods. It seems Serena had taken notes from nature's most strategic trickster. Andrew turned to the back of the notebook. There it was, a financial summary. Total diverted over 2 years, $36, $482.17. My hand flew to my mouth. Mom, he said quietly, she stole from you. Not figuratively, not emotionally, literally. While I struggled to afford medications, she bought handbags. While I pinched pennies for groceries, she staged photo shoots in this mansion. While she told Andrew my health was failing, she was using my accounts like her personal wallet. There's, in the margins, written in cursive. Maintain control until the paperwork is complete. Brenda trusts too easily. Andrew believes what is consistent. My stomach turned. She didn't just lie. She didn't just replace me. She studied us, plotted around us, mapped out our weaknesses. Andrew, I whispered. She was preparing to take everything. He closed the notebook slowly. This is evidence. This is more than deception. This is theft, fraud, identity manipulation. And she did it while smiling, I murmured, while calling me Mom. He stood, suddenly furious. Not loud, not explosive, just solidly, unmistakably angry in a way I had never seen in him. This stops tonight, he said. But the house, as if sensing its secrets being exposed, seemed to creak softly as though warning us we hadn't seen everything yet. Then Andrew noticed a second compartment in the drawer, a false bottom. He pried it open. Inside were folders, legal-looking, neatly labeled. He pulled the first one out. Draft durable, power of attorney, Brenda Cole, Serena Martinez. My hand shook as I reached for the next file. Draft home transfer agreement, Brenda to Serena. My breath escaped in a shudder. She planned to have me sign these. Andrew looked sick. She planned to take your identity. On paper. The final folder contained something worse. Script notes for Brenda's signature day. Tell her it's for routine banking. Say Andrew approved. Reassure her she won't need to handle stress anymore. If she hesitates, remind her she's forgetful. Stay calm, gentle, sweet. She trusts gentle voices. I closed my eyes. She had written a playbook for my erasure. Andrew inhaled sharply. Mom, she didn't just steal your money, she tried to steal your life. I touched his shoulder gently. She almost did, but she made one mistake. What? She underestimated the moment truth would wake up. He nodded. And then, as if summoned by our discovery, we heard footsteps enter the house. Soft, measured, uninvited. Andrew grabbed my hand. Mom, he whispered. She's here. The footsteps echoed down the hallway, slow, careful, almost rehearsed. Andrew's grip tightened around my hand, steady but shaking in that barely contained way a son gets when the truth he just uncovered is bigger than the betrayal he imagined. I whispered, "Stay behind me." He whispered back, "Not a chance." The lights in the hallway flickered once as a shadow crossed the doorway. Serena stepped into view, wearing the same polished calm she always carried, hair pinned back perfectly, lipstick unbothered, posture like she was entering a gala instead of a crime scene. "Oh," she said softly, in a voice syrupy enough to mask arsenic, "you're here." Her eyes scanned the room, the open files, the exposed notebook, Andrew's white-knuckled grip, my trembling but defiant stare. She blinked once, slowly, then pasted on that same gentle half-smile I'd seen 1,000 times, one that never quite reached her eyes. "I was coming to get my phone," she said. "You shouldn't be going through my things." Andrew stepped forward, voice low, tight. "These aren't your things. They're the lies you built around my mother." Serena's jaw tensed. "Andrew, let's talk calmly." "No," he snapped. "I want the truth. Right now." She gave a soft laugh, but it cracked at the edges. "You're being emotional. It's been a long day. We're all grieving." "Stop," I interrupted. "Do not use his father's death to hide what you did." Something in her expression twitched anger or fear, hard to tell, but it cracked. And once cracked, the truth always seeps through. She folded her arms. "Fine. What exactly are you accusing me of?" Andrew held up the mint green notebook. "This." Her lips parted. "You read that?" "You wrote it," he said, "page after page, lie after lie. You blocked my mother's calls. You hid her letters. You kept us apart. You impersonated her in this house." Serena's mouth twitched. "Those notes, they're planning tools. Every organized person keeps track of their duties." "Duties," I said softly. "You call rewriting my life a duty." She exhaled through her nose, suddenly tired of the act. "You don't understand what it was like. Brenda, your son is wealthy, influential. Everyone sees him as gifted. And you," she gestured vaguely at me, "people adored you. They respected you. You had a presence. I blinked, stunned. A presence. Yes, she snapped. You still had his emotional loyalty. No matter what I did, Andrew still ran to you for reassurance. I was married to a man who saw me as an accessory, well, you. She glared at me with a bitterness so raw it felt like a cold wind hitting my skin. You were the woman he trusted most. That struck me harder than I expected. Jealousy. It really was jealousy. Old age wisdom says, sometimes envy isn't about wanting what someone has, but wanting them not to have it at all. Serena wanted to erase me because my existence made her feel like a footnote. Andrew took a step closer. So you pretended my mother lived here, sent me photos, sent me videos, wrote fake emails. Serena lifted her chin. You needed stability. Andrew, you were working non-stop. I didn't want your mother's stubbornness to burden you. My mother is not a burden, he growled. Her face flushed. She would have dragged us back financially, the medicine, the visits, the surgeries. My health has been stable for years, I said quietly. You turned me into a sickness to justify cruelty. Serena's throat bobbed. Well, you didn't want to move anyway. Because I never saw the house, I replied, because you made sure I wouldn't. She looked away, and in that small motion, I saw the entire truth crack open. This wasn't a mistake, not a misunderstanding, not a miscommunication. It was deliberate architecture. She built a lie and decorated it like a home. Andrew opened another folder. You wrote scripts. You wrote down ways to manipulate her into signing property transfer documents. Serena closed her eyes briefly. I wasn't going to hurt anyone. I just needed a future. You were going to steal my mother's identity, he said. That isn't a future. That's fraud. Her voice sharpened. Don't act like you know what it's like to have nothing. I grew up with nothing. I clawed my way here. And then I married into a family where the dead grandmother got more reverence than I did. That's enough, I said, suddenly exhausted. You used my son's love to build a cage around me. Serena's gaze snapped to mine sharp, wet, brimming with rage. You were supposed to fade. Old women fade. That's how life works. A chill ran through me. She said it like she believed it. That's when I realized Serena didn't see me as a person. She saw me as a problem, an obstacle, a shadow she wanted gone. Andrew clenched his jaw. You're going to tell the truth. Serena. All of it. She crossed her arms again. Or what? He reached into the drawer and pulled out the final folder, the draft transfer of my home. This alone is enough for an investigation. Serena's face drained of color. Andrew continued. The stolen funds, the hidden letters, the impersonation, the documented manipulation, this isn't a marital issue. This is legal. And then finally, Serena broke. Not dramatically, not with shouting, but with a quietness that felt colder than anything she'd said. I did what I had to do, she whispered. No, I said softly. You did what you chose to do. Her eyes sharpened. You're going to ruin everything. Andrew shook his head. You ruined it yourself. A long, silent beat passed. Then Serena whispered, I want a lawyer. Andrew nodded. Good, you'll need one. She turned and walked out of the room. Not gracefully, not powerfully, but the way a person walks when they suddenly realize the world they built wasn't made of marble, but paper, and we were holding the matches. Serena left the room with the stiff, mechanical steps of someone who had just watched the ground beneath her crack wide open. The door upstairs slammed a final, brittle punctuation mark. Andrew let out a shaky breath. One hand pressed to his forehead as if he'd been holding his skull together for days. I walked to him slowly, laid a hand on his arm, and whispered, Sit, son. He sank into the chair without argument. The house was too quiet now, almost cinematic. The kind of quiet where truth has finally detonated and the echoes are still settling into every corner. I poured him a glass of water. It trembled against the rim as I set it down. Mom, he whispered, I didn't know. I swear to you, I truly didn't know. I squeezed his shoulder lightly. I know, Andrew. If I doubted your heart, I wouldn't be standing here. He exhaled hard relief mixed with shame. I need to check everything, he said suddenly, standing up again. Every account, every transfer, every signature. She's been hiding things. I can feel it. I nodded. That old age wisdom they joke about, it's real. The truth isn't a mystery. It leaves breadcrumbs for the stubborn and bruises for the brave. Andrew pulled his laptop from his bag, rolled up his sleeves, and began typing like a man trying to recover lost years. The screen glowed on his face, turning the exhaustion under his eyes silver blue. I sat beside him. Then, quietly, he said, "Mom, look at this." On the screen was a login page, my name at the top. Except I'd never seen it before. "Whose account is that?" I asked. "Apparently yours." He clicked. The email address wasn't mine. The profile photo wasn't mine. The recovery phone number definitely wasn't mine. "What is this?" I whispered. "A fake digital identity," he said, "created 2 years ago." My skin prickled. I felt something crawl inside my ribs. "Look," he continued, pulling up another tab. "This account is tied to a credit card, and this card is tied to a line of credit." He clicked again. $15,000. Another click, $7,800. Another, $24,000. All unpaid, all under my name. My breath caught. She used me to build debt. Andrew nodded slowly, and she disguised expenses as medical costs, so when I saw the statements, I assumed they were for you and Dad. A low ache filled my chest, slow and spreading. Not only had Serena taken my son away with lies, she had turned me into a ghost she could spend and sign for. Andrew opened another file, a scanned document, a signature at the bottom. My name, except not my hand. "That isn't my writing," I whispered. "Look at the stroke. That's not mine." Andrew closed his eyes. "I know. And another thing, this isn't one forged document. It's dozens." My heart thudded hard, like a slow drum summoning awareness. "Mom," he continued softly, "there's more." He opened the bank transfer records. Every month for 3 years, Andrew had sent $2,000 for my care. Every month, Serena withdrew it within 24 hours. Luxury store withdrawals, hotel stays, spa memberships, a $9,000 jewelry purchase. I stared at the numbers, each one a blade flashing in the dim light. Andrew put his face in his hands. "Mom, I can't believe I let this happen." I touched his shoulder. "You trusted your wife. That isn't a crime. But what she did is..." He looked at me with a pained expression. "I should have checked. I should have called more. I should have..." "No," I interrupted gently. "The person who lies is at fault, not the person lied to." He took a long breath, but the guilt in his eyes didn't fade. "Mom," he whispered, "I'm so sorry." I placed my palm against his cheek, guiding his gaze up to mine. "Son, I forgave you long before today. What matters now is what we do next." He nodded, small but solid. Then he pulled another stack of documents from the drawer, flipping to a page highlighted in neon yellow property transfer draft. "This," he murmured, "was the beginning of her long game." My stomach dropped. It looks like she was preparing to move the mansion into her control, step by step, very slowly, very quietly, just enough to go unnoticed. I stared at the document as if it were alive, and if Dad hadn't... I couldn't finish the sentence. Andrew did. If Dad hadn't passed, she'd have tried to justify transferring the house to herself because you didn't want the burden, he said. She planned to time it with his declining health. I covered my mouth. The pain was sharp, clean, like ice pressed against a bruise. Andrew swallowed hard. "Mom, she wasn't just jealous. She was strategic," I whispered, like a chess player who forgot the pieces were human. He shook his head, rubbing his temples. "This goes beyond spite. She forged emails between you and me. She used my grief, my trust, my obligations. She weaponized every soft spot I had." A quirky fact popped into my mind, a strange thing to surface in a moment like this. But that's the way the brain tries to protect itself. "You know," I murmured, staring at the papers, "ornithologists discovered that certain birds, starlings, line their nests with bright objects to distract predators." Andrew blinked at me. "What does that have to do with this?" "That's what Serena did," I said. She filled our lives with noise excuses, schedules, small crises so we wouldn't look too closely at what she was hiding. He exhaled, half sad, half impressed. She really did plan everything, didn't she? Yes, I said softly. But she forgot the academically debatable truth my mother taught me long ago: a lie is only strong when the truth is sleeping. Ours woke up. He closed the laptop with a quiet click. What do we do now? I looked at the door Serena had disappeared behind. The house was silent, hollow, waiting. We gather everything, I said, and we fight this the right way, with every document, every record, every detail. And then he asked, "And then?" I whispered. "We let the truth take its rightful place." He nodded, jaw set. "My mother," he said, voice firm but gentle, "is going to get her life back." I placed my hand over his. "And your mother," I whispered, "is done being silent." The afternoon sunlight in Coral Gables had that warm, honey gold color that makes everything look softer than it really is. But don't let that fool you. Nothing about the hours ahead felt soft. Andrew and I walked up the courthouse steps together, our shadows long on the stone, both of us breathing in that strange mix of relief and dread that comes when the truth is finally being written into something permanent. You might not think paperwork has weight, but trust me, when it's the kind that closes a storm, it feels heavier than any suitcase. Inside the attorney's office, the air conditioning hummed cold enough to make my fingers tingle. Maybe that was nerves, or age, or both. But I sat tall, hands folded, telling myself what Michael used to whisper when we faced medical bills bigger than our courage. Steady now. What must be done, must be done. Thomas Bennett, our attorney, laid out the thick stack of documents with the seriousness of a surgeon preparing for an operation. He pushed his glasses up and said in a low voice, "Mrs. Cole, Andrew, after this, the legal tie ends. She can't reach into your pockets again, not legally, and she can't reach into your home. Brenda, not in this lifetime." Andrew nodded, though I could see the tightness in his jaw. My son carries guilt like a stone in his chest, too big for one person, too small to throw away. Sometimes I think mothers are given strong backs just to help their children carry what they can't drop. As Bennett spoke, Serena's attorney sat across from us, a thin man with nervous fingers. He kept smoothing his tie like it could hide the tremor in his hands. He laid out Serena's agreement. She accepted full wrongdoing, identity fraud, obstruction of communication, unauthorized use of funds, impersonation, and property misuse. But she begged through her attorney to keep the case in civil court, not criminal, a small request in the ocean of the damage she caused. Andrew leaned back, exhaling through his teeth. "Tell her," he said quietly. "Tell her I'm done. Just sign it." The attorney nodded as if relieved. Paper tapping echoed through the room, signatures on dotted lines, initials on little squares, affidavits turning into reality. So it's strange how healing sometimes looks like ink drying on a page. When it was my turn to sign, the pen felt almost too delicate for the weight of this moment, but I wrote my name slow and precise, each letter steady. It struck me then this wasn't revenge. This was restoration. A closing of accounts, not just on paper, but in my soul. And here's an old age wisdom for you, whispered from one life-worn heart to another. Sometimes the end of a painful relationship isn't punishment, it's mercy. Mercy for them, and mercy for yourself. The attorney handed us the final decree. "You're free," he said simply. Outside, stepping into the Florida warmth felt like walking into a new chapter. Andrew rubbed his face with both hands, like a man trying to wake up from a long nightmare. "Mom," he murmured, "I don't know how I let it get this far." I touched his arm, "Because you loved, and love trusts. Don't be ashamed of that." He nodded slowly, and for a second he looked like the boy who used to cry when he broke toys, believing the world had ended. Except now, it wasn't toys, it was years lost between us. Still, the heart repairs what it truly wants to keep. We drove home in silence, the kind of silence that isn't empty but full of things we didn't need to say yet. At one red light, Andrew let out a half laugh and said, "You know, Mom, There's research somewhere, I don't know, where that says humans make their worst decisions when they're lonely. I chuckled. Whoever wrote that probably spent one holiday alone. Or 3, he muttered. And we both laughed at the same time. There's your academically debatable phrase for this part, because whether loneliness causes bad decisions or bad decisions cause loneliness is something psychologists can argue about forever. When we reached the mansion, the afternoon breeze rustled the bougainvillea on the balcony. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt like it had been exorcised. Funny how justice can be stronger than any blessing. Inside, the rooms were quiet. The faint scent of lavender and citrus still lingered Danielle's doing from the last dinner we shared. It felt like the home was breathing again. Andrew sat on the couch, head in his hands. "Mom," he said softly, "I'm glad you pushed me to face it." I sat beside him and patted his knee. Don't give me too much credit. I just finally listened to my own voice. He looked up at me with those tired eyes, but there was peace there too. "So, what now?" "We live?" I whispered. "We live honestly." He nodded, leaning back, staring at the ceiling like it held answers. Maybe it did. Later that evening, after he left, I made myself a cup of chamomile tea. I stepped onto the balcony where the warm wind carried the scent of night-blooming jasmine. The street below glowed with soft yellow lamps. I wrapped my shawl tighter around my shoulders and breathed deep. This home, once stolen through lies, had been returned through truth. And now, it needed tenderness, not extravagance. A quiet dinner here, a garden blooming there, a community forming at the door. Healing is rarely loud. It grows like ivy, slow, persistent, and quietly unstoppable. When I went back inside, I passed the dining room and paused. Michael's photo hung on the wall again. I touched the frame lightly. "We did it," I whispered. The house felt lighter, and so did I. One quirky fact for this chapter: did you know jasmine blooms stronger after storms? A botanist at the community center mentioned it once, whether it's science, rumor, or just another poetic lie nature tells us. I don't know, but I like to believe it. It's comforting to imagine that beauty can grow tougher after turmoil. As the night settled over Coral Gables, I closed the doors, turned off the lights, and felt something rare, the softness of peace after justice. And that, my friend, is worth every step taken to reach it. The first night I spent in the Coral Gables mansion after everything settled felt strangely unreal, like walking into a life that had been waiting for me, patient and quiet, even while I was stuck surviving in that cramped old apartment. Funny how a house can feel both familiar and foreign at the same time. I lay there listening to the faint trickle of the fountain outside, the way it echoed gently across the courtyard. It didn't sound like the noise of someone else's life anymore. It sounded like possibility. In the morning, sunlight came in soft and warm, like it wasn't trying to prove anything. I made myself coffee in a kitchen big enough to fit half the 4B apartment inside it. The marble counter felt cool under my palms, and I realized something I don't think I had touched. Something made of real stone in years. Real stone, real floors, real light, nothing fake, nothing borrowed, nothing stolen, just mine at last. Andrew came by later that day carrying a grocery bag and wearing the tired but calm expression of a man rebuilding his life one quiet brick at a time. "Mom," he said, dropping the bag on the counter, "I didn't know what you like anymore, so I got a bit of everything." A sad smile touched his face. I reached out and squeezed his hand. "We'll learn each other again. No rush. And here's a little old age wisdom for you. Relationships aren't broken all at once. They're restored the same way, slowly, gently, with no sudden movements." We unpacked the groceries together, and I realized how comforting it feels just to share a kitchen with someone you love. Serena never understood that. She knew how to build illusions, but not homes. As days turned to weeks, I started breathing differently. I rearranged the living room, hung Michael's photo on the wall where the afternoon light hit just right, and placed a small lamp by the reading chair that gave the whole room a soft amber glow. I also joined a gardening class at the community center, something I'd pushed aside for decades, first because life was too busy, then because life was too painful. Now I had the luxury of soil under my fingernails again. That's healing, you know. Some folks say gardening is slow therapy, an academically debatable phrase, but true enough for me. Every morning I checked on the roses, trimmed the basil, and whispered little prayers into the wind. One morning, while watering the new mint patch, Rosa Alvarez, the neighbor who first revealed Serena's lies, walked by and waved. "Mrs. Brenda," she called, "your garden is the prettiest on the block." I laughed. "Rosa, you say that only because I'm new." "No," she said with a wink. "I say it because it's true, and because your roses look happier than mine." That's when I told her a quirky fact I remembered reading somewhere. Plants grow better when people talk to them in a kind voice. Whether science backs that up or not, who knows? But it's nice to believe nature listens. Soon, Rosa and I were sharing recipes and gossip over afternoon tea. Then came my book club, 4 women, all older than me, each carrying their own past pains like invisible scars. We read stories, talked about life, and discovered that healing doesn't always require deep speeches. Sometimes you just need a room where you're not pretending. During one of our Sunday lunches, Andrew brought someone new, a woman named Danielle, kind eyes, brown hair tied back neatly, wearing simple clothes that didn't scream for attention. She carried a homemade lemon loaf and a shy smile. "Mom," Andrew said, "this is Danielle. She works at the clinic." Danielle stepped forward. "I've heard so much about you, Mrs. Cole, and I've been hoping to meet you." I studied her sincerity, her calm presence, and something inside me relaxed. This wasn't another Serena. This was someone who understood quiet joy. We cooked together that day, flour on her cheek, laughter filling the kitchen, and I swear the house itself felt lighter, like it finally had the right people in it. Later, Andrew and Danielle sat with me by the fountain. The sky was tinted gold, and the water sparkled. Danielle asked softly, "Mrs. Cole, how do you stay so calm after everything you went through?" I smiled, because calmness isn't something people give you, sweetheart. It's something you decide to keep. She nodded, thoughtful, and I realized then that maybe my story had shaped her too. That night, after they left, I sat alone in the reading room. The lamp glowed warm, the pages of my book smelled faintly of paper and time, and I felt grateful, truly grateful. The kind that sits deep inside your bones. I thought about 4B, the peeling floor, the dripping ceiling, the quiet of loneliness. Then I looked at this home, the one meant for me, where I now sat not as a victim, but as a woman who survived a storm and grew stronger in its wake. Healing is an odd thing. It doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives while you're trimming roses or sipping tea or watching your son find love again. Before I went to bed, I opened my notebook and wrote, "I am no longer building my life from fear. I'm building it from clarity." The fountain whispered outside. The jasmine swayed in the evening air. And for the first time in years, I whispered back, "Thank you. I'm home." You would think that after all the chaos, after all the nights I cried in that tiny 4B apartment, after the lies, the stolen years, and the public truth finally shining like a spotlight that burned through every mask, my story would end right there. But life is never that tidy. Sometimes the final chapter doesn't come crashing in like thunder. Sometimes it walks up your driveway in worn shoes and asks for a moment of your time. It was a Monday morning, bright and warm, the kind of Florida morning that makes the palm leaves shimmer like they've been polished. I was watering my roses, those same roses that used to wilt when I wasn't home enough to tend them. Now they bloomed full and joyful. Maybe plants know when a house is finally at peace. The old silver sedan pulled up so quietly I didn't hear the engine, but I felt it, one of those shivers in your chest when you know something's arriving that you didn't ask for but can't avoid. Serena stepped out. Not the Serena who used to wear silks and diamonds, not the Serena who swept into rooms like she owned the air. This was a woman whose life had come undone. Her hair was uneven, half-grown roots showing, Her blouse was wrinkled, her jeans worn, her heels scuffed. She looked smaller somehow, like the lies she built had always held her up. And now she didn't know how to stand without them. "Mrs. Brenda," she whispered, voice raw, trembling. I just want a moment." I kept watering the roses. The sound of the water hitting the leaves gave me strength. It reminded me that I didn't have to meet chaos with chaos. I could meet it with calm. "You can speak," I said quietly, "but only for a few minutes." "I don't have much time left for old pain." She nodded like someone receiving a sentence they expected. "I lost everything, she said. "My family won't speak to me. My job let me go. People talk behind my back everywhere I go. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, I saw the girl she used to be before ambition ate her alive. But sorrow doesn't erase harm, not when harm was a choice made again and again. "Serena," I said softly, "remorse is only real when it comes with responsibility, not performance." She swallowed. "Do you think I still have a chance to start over?" I shook my head slow, gentle. A chance is not something given. It's something earned. And you start earning it by living better, not by asking someone you wounded to bless the path you walk now. Her eyes glistened. I hoped one day you'd forgive me. And here's the old age wisdom for this part. Forgiveness isn't a gift for the guilty. It's a release for the wounded. But forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means choosing peace and distance. "I don't wish you harm," I told her, "but there is no place for you in my life. That chapter is closed." She nodded weakly. "Thank you, even though you didn't have to." She turned away, shoulders shaking, and drove off. No drama, no screaming, just the quiet crumble of a life built on control. I watched the roses sway in the breeze. Something inside me felt lighter, not from her apology, but from the boundary I'd held. Later that day, neighbors passed by with warm greetings. Someone had nominated my garden for Yard of the Month, and I had to laugh. Life's little surprises can be sweeter than justice. In the afternoon, I biked around the neighborhood. Kids waved. Rosa blew kisses with both hands, and I felt like the world was finally speaking to me again after years of silence forced by someone else's lies. That evening, Andrew and Danielle came over with wine. Danielle brought lavender for the kitchen window. Andrew grilled on the patio while the sun dipped behind the palms, turning the pool surface into a sheet of gold. We ate paella, the old pan sizzling like it remembered Michael's hands. We talked about simple things, gentle things, future things. Later, when the sky deepened into indigo, I sat alone on the porch, listening to the fountain. Its sound no longer echoed loneliness. Now it sounded like breath, like life returning. And here's your quirky fact for this chapter. Some fountains recycle the same water over and over, but every ripple is new. Nature's tiny reminder that even in repetition, renewal is possible. Before bed, I wrote in my notebook, "Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It unhooks its claws from your future. Justice is not loud. It's quiet, like a door closing softly. And peace is not found. It's chosen." I closed the notebook, turned off the lights, and let the night wrap around me gently. For the first time in a long time, my heart whispered, "I'm safe." And that is how my long story of betrayal and healing ends, not with revenge, not with shouting, but with a woman choosing dignity, choosing peace, and finally choosing herself. The night settled over Coral Gables with the kind of gentleness that makes you breathe a little slower, like the world is finally giving you permission to rest. I stood by the open window, the curtains moving just slightly with the breeze. Somewhere outside, the fountain kept its steady rhythm soft, patient, almost like a heartbeat that had finally learned to calm itself. You know, when you survive something long and painful, you expect the ending to feel grand, dramatic, loud, but healing rarely announces itself. It arrives quietly. The way dawn creeps into a room before you ever open your eyes. It settles into the corners of your home, the folds of your clothes, the small rituals of your mornings. And you realize one day that life doesn't hurt the way it used to, not because the past disappeared, but because you grew around it. I think about Michael sometimes, not with grief anymore, but with a soft gratitude. If he could see this home now, the warmth, the laughter, the honesty, he would smile the same tired smile he gave me when we overcame harder days. And Andrew, my son, walks with a lighter step now, not perfect, but present. And presence is a kind of love that no money or mansion could ever replace. As for me, well, I water my roses, I sip tea on the porch, I read books that make me feel young again. I let the breeze touch my hair like a reassuring hand, and every night before I sleep, I whisper a small promise to myself I will live softly, but never silently again. Thank you for staying with me through all of this. And if you'd like to join me on more journeys, more stories of strength, truth, and healing, stay close.